and welcome to episode 7 of Practical Show, the weekly show where we focus on business growth strategies and tools such as AI, funnels, and many other subjects. Today, as always, I have my co-host Anna, so we always start off with Anna introducing what we've lined up for the show today.
Hello everyone. So we have very interesting guest. I will start with our guest first, Eoin Oliver. And we have a couple of other things that we're going to explore today. But I'm really excited to see even your show, your demonstration, Thomas, with that very fabulous tool that sometimes I guess it's even scary to see what can be done now with AI. Yeah, and I'll be talking about something that I don't know what I think about it personally, but I get we're moving in the space of medicine. So let's start the show and see where we go.
All right. So, Anna, look, we try and bring in some fun facts. Will I go first or will you go first, right, today and talk about what we've got? Well,
I'd say you go first today.
I go first. All right. Well, then today, what I've been out there checking out is I was on a webinar during the week, and on the webinar, they started talking about Flux, a new model. It's not, well, it was new to me, but it's a recent model in AI. And when I went out and I did some searching on it, I mean, it's amazing what is out there. So with the Flux, here's something that, if it'll load here for me, right, is it's not actually loading for me for some reason or other. Yeah, oh yeah. So this is a website and where they're using Flux to build PCB boards. These are boards that are electronic boards that are in everything that we use, computers and so on. And they can go from idea to the board, as it says up here, 10 times faster by using AI. This AI tool, you can actually go and ask it a question like, it'll probably show up here, but one of the questions, if I wanted to build an alarm clock in the morning that says, oh, get out of bed, you lazy whatever. There it's how do I design an amplifier? It comes along and tells you exactly how to do it, where to place all the components on the board. And even working with a team, it makes it so much easier and faster to be able to build these boards rather than going building it manually and saying, would this work and what do I need? Here you just say, I want another transistor, and where it even tells you where to put it on the board, and it does a test and everything. It is a very good piece of AI. And the Flux, as I went on and I was looking at Flux, I found that Flux is used in various different sectors, and one of them is realistic photo generation or image generation. And when it comes to that, right, I've done something here. So I'm using something here called huggingface.co, and it has a lot of the Flux models all put in together with, and this is the realistic one, it's photorealistic images. And I put in this prompt up there, asking it to capture a speaker in mid-speech, and asked it to, it's a woman in a purple dress wearing a green learner, and I gave it a few more different things in here as well. I said behind them that I wanted a blurred background, and you can see the image is pretty realistic, right? And I've actually created another image where it was very realistic, but even the details of where I told it, prompted it, I wanted her to hold her hands out and have a ring on her finger, and it gave her 2 rings, one on each finger by the looks of it, right? But the dress, the whole lot, said she needs to be smiling. I said about the hair flowing, right? All that was in my prompt. I got exactly what I asked for. Now, why does this matter to someone in business? And what I have to say about that is, when it comes to saving money, or if you're looking to create images for if you're looking to create images, sorry, I've just pressed the wrong button there, right? If you're looking to create images for your business, hiring a photographer can be time consuming, waiting for him to come, and expensive. Whereas with tools like this, you can create images very, very quickly, very, very quickly. And it saves you time and money. There is only one thing I would say that you need to be careful about is that, first of all, you train your team that they know how to use the images correctly. Like any tool, it's only as good as the information that's put into it. And two, that you think about the ethical side of things here. If you're using AI images for your business, especially in adverts, be upfront and tell your audience that it's an AI generated image. Because at the end of the day, what we want to do when it comes to any branding and protecting our brand, we want to make sure people trust us. So what I'd say to you is just tell people they're AI images, because without trust, we don't have a business that we don't have a business that we're going to be generating images for, because people won't be buying from us. And our VIP guest later on is in branding. Maybe he'll add something to that for us later on when we introduce him.
Yeah,
So
that's a very good point, Thomas, when you're talking about the trust, right? There's so much AI now everywhere. Social media is full. You actually have to do your own research to see how truthful that is, right? And creating those images, and I'll be touching on a couple of other new ones that are coming up to the market. The prompts are so important. You need to check the information and the data before you actually put it into the prompt, even to have the right background, because you can claim that was in real life and you were there, but somebody else who actually was there in real life can catch you on that one, right?
yeah,
So, and you need to think how much damage you can do to your
actually,
company.
Anna, there, as you mentioned that, the crowd called Lionsgate, who were in the film industry, recently, one of their trailers put out a quote from a journalist, and said that she said something. It was generated by AI, this thing, and they never checked what the AI did and just put it out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she saw it and said she never said that, right? As a matter of fact, she, instead of being a critic, giving critical comments, as they said, she actually was very positive towards the trailer. So yeah, that was Lionsgate. You need to be careful. Check, don't just take it, what an AI tool, and copy and paste it. Check it, make sure it's right. Okay,
Yeah.
That's what I'd say about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So that brings me to something that it's quite interesting, and having a little bit of medical background, probably I'm interested in this area and to see how AI and robotics and everything will help us. And there is so much is happening in medical field. So I think, Thomas, you have the picture just to show that pillbot that you had earlier. So it's probably a lot of people heard about this, but it's not available for to public yet. So there is a lot of things have to be ticked. A lot of boxes have to be ticked first before it actually goes and streamlined in all the hospitals. So pillbots, it's basically non-invasive diagnostics, right? They are tiny swallowable robotics, and robotic devices that designed to perform, this is the important part here, right? Real-time internal examinations. And there are some benefits and there are some concerns. So I just go briefly with benefits of this device. It's minimally invasive, right? Cost effective, as they claim. We need to have proof of that first. Convenience. Okay, you can allow at-home diagnostics with remote doctor monitoring, which could be very, very interesting if that actually can be true. And then real time data, as I said, it provides immediate feedback and improving diagnostic speeds and accuracy. But there are some concerns. So concerns is technology reliability, right? How accurate you can be with this, and how actually effective the remote control in such a complex diagnostic. So that needs to be proven. Another one is through FDA, which is Food and Drug administration. So they actually need to approve this, and I guess it's a very good thing, right? So it's pending a full regulatory approval, and which could delay this use of this technology. And then data privacy, which is huge everywhere, especially in medical field, and then potential discomfort. So I guess you will have people who will try this out and give their feedback. So that's my first part about the Pillbot. And I want to move now to some other tools that recently, through my research, I found 3 new tools. So you, Thomas, talked about the image creation or realism, right? How real were your pictures that you've created? But now that's moving to video creation, where you actually do almost the same as you have done with the image. So there are 3 tools that I will explore more for our next week's show. But I just want to give you names, and we will post them with our show later after we finish. And maybe some of you could try it out and give us your own feedback. So the first one is VIDDS. That's what we call vids.co. It's AI video generator. And that's number one. Number two is it's all those tools actually towards business development. In our show, we want to give a real tools and our actually our questionnaire that we recently posted. Majority of people wanted to know practical tools, how to develop their business. One thing to keep in mind, you'll be absolutely overwhelmed the amount of AI is coming at us at the speed that it's coming at us. So you have to be very careful. So this one was the first one, the video generator. The second one is numerous.ai. This automates repetitive tasks at scale and supports CEO and improves efficiency in data categorization. And the last one is FastCut AI. And again, this is speeds up video production with auto captions, and it's trending templates and emojis and perfect for marketeers. So I'm going to look into those 3 for next week, and I'm going to pass you over to Thomas now. Thank you.
All right, Anna. Well, you know something, Anna, where what you were saying there about creating video. That image that I had up there a moment ago of the woman in the purple dress, I could have gone, and this is really frightening. You can go a little bit further and turn any image into a video where her mouth moves, it says what you want to say, and you can have her walk across the stage. And that's just taking it a little bit further on those Flux LoRa tools. By the way, the one I forgot to mention that I was using, there's plenty of Flux LoRa out there. The one I found the best for creating the image was Flux LoRa the Explorer. So Flux LoRa the Explorer, just to
and
clarify that out.
You have to go with the realism. I think they've given you a couple of prompts, but the realism is the one that that's the new word, I guess.
That's it. Exactly. Yeah.
I think it's time for our VIP guest, Thomas.
It is. So what I would say about our VIP guest is I have a lot to say about our VIP guest, right? But before we do, actually, there is somebody here who our guest may be aware of, right? He says hello from Paris, right? And it's Eoin is our guest that we're bringing on now in a few moments. So I have a lot to say about Eoin. I'm going to give him quite a large introduction, right? Lengthy introduction, because I met this guy in person. He's an Irishman living in the UK. And I happen to have the pleasure of having a coffee with him recently. So today's VIP guest is a man who's juggling more balls than a street performer on a unicycle. And you'll understand what I mean by that as I go through the presentation. Eoin Oliver is his name, the marketing maestro who turned his hotel boredom into a business empire. Eoin's journey started, like many of ours, buried in books at uni. But unlike most of us who just used the knowledge to impress our dates, Eoin actually put it into good use. He climbed the corporate ladder faster than a squirrel on espresso, landing a top marketing gig at a FTSE 100 company. And he had over 100 people underneath him. You'd think he'd be happy with that, wouldn't you? Wrong. Our man Eoin was just getting started. Whilst working there and spending a lot of time alone in hotels, Owen was busy hatching plans. He started his own company called Square Balloon. He'll tell us more about that in a few moments. But he proved that great ideas can indeed come from those tiny hotel notepads that he was scratching on while he was alone. Fast forward 16 years, and Owen is not just running one company, he's got a whole fleet of them. And, well, let's talk about an overachievement there, right? But wait, you might think that's it, there's more. When he's not busy in his businesses, Owen is sharing his wisdom with the world. He's online, he's offline, he's everywhere like a marketing Wi-Fi. And if that wasn't enough, he's now nurturing the next generation of marketing whiz kids as a tutor. Recently, the Chartered Institute of Marketing looked at Owen and said, you know what? This guy's all right. They made him a fellow, which I've been told is a big deal. Right? So I need to find out a little bit more about that later. And just when you thought he couldn't possibly have time for anything else, Owen's out there, he's designing bespoke software solutions because apparently running multiple companies isn't just challenging enough. So without further ado, let's be prepared to sit up straight, pay attention and engage with the man who puts pro into project management, the market into marketing, and probably the EIN in caffeine. So Eoin, welcome to the show. Right? And Eoin, you're more than welcome. And look, I'm even beginning to, because on your personal life, I know you're doing a lot of other things. And where do you get the time? We'll come back to that in a moment, right? So welcome on, right? Okay.
Thank you very much for the lovely intro, Thomas. And hi to Emmanuel, who wrote in the comments.
Yeah. Yes, so Eoin, before we get into a lot of great detail about all the different things you're covering, I have one question. I saw you on an online summit one day, and your presentation was very, very interesting. And I have to say, I think our audience might like to know a little bit more about that. Your presentation was about basically scope creep. And so my question to you, when it comes to projects, is it important to have agreements in place that clearly outline the project? Maybe you could tell us from your own experience all about that and your past hiccups and where you are now with it.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, most of my learning has come from getting things wrong, to be honest with you. You learn more from that than doing it right. You never really need the agreements to be good until you're in trouble, basically. So, I've got a good friend of mine who's a debt collector. Whenever we had dispute with a client who said, I just don't want to pay you. Like many of the times, they just didn't feel like paying, which is completely different to not having done the work. But they would just be, I don't want to pay. And so I'd say to him, how do we do this? And he'd say, well, you have to have a way of proving you've done what you said you would do so that you can tell them you have to pay me unless you can prove I haven't done it. And in some cases, the contracts were just a little bit too muddy and it became hard to prove you did exactly what they asked, or they had changed the scope, as you said about scope creep, they would add things on and add things on and add things on, and it hadn't really been documented or a change request form hadn't been filled in. So when the stuff hits the fan, you're suddenly like, well, look, we didn't deliver this because you actually asked us to deliver this instead. But if you haven't really documented that, it suddenly becomes a really big issue, even though you've kind of done more than what you said you would do. If you haven't done the thing in the contract, you could come unstuck in a claim,
Right. Okay. So we've got somebody here.
Very easily, isn't it, Thomas? That's an Owen. Very easily, when you start at one point, you agree at something.
Especially the thing I touched a lot on in that previous talk that Thomas was talking about. I talked a lot on when you start out and you're taking on small projects. And if people ask you to do a few changes and you think, I could just do these extra 2 or 3 things and then the project will be finished and they'll pay me and I'll be done and I can move on to the next project. But as your projects grow, those sort of 5 things become like 25, 30 things, and suddenly you're a week late on delivering the project and the customer's complaining because you're late delivering, and you really need to be able to show them that actually you asked me to do all these extra things. I couldn't have done them in 0 time. It was always going to take an extra week. But you have to communicate that with them whenever they ask them for it. By the way, this is going to move the deadline.
I think I heard in that presentation, Owen, that you were providing a service where you're creating agreements for people now. Is that correct?
I sort of had agreed, well, I offered a deal where if people wanted me, if they were just starting to take on bigger projects and they were inexperienced with it, I would sort of help them by maybe jumping on the sales call with them, so I could manage the client's expectations and say, I would be able to say, by the way, here are the things that are definitely going to go wrong. And people don't like to tell clients that, but you kind of have to, because if you know they're definitely going to go wrong, you may as well be upfront about it. So the client's like, oh, well, you did mention this. So actually, we understand there's an extra cost because you told us that there'll be at least 3 things that we haven't told you about. And it turns out there were 3 things we hadn't thought of. And, you're in a situation where when you're inexperienced, you're like, oh, God, we have to do these things to get the project completed. But when you're experienced, you're more like, hey, look, there's no way I could have billed for that because how would I have known that up front? I found out afterwards. But if you deliver that information and make that an expectation, you have a much better chance of managing the client afterwards,
That is so true, that somebody external can actually make those points quite easily, and it's taken differently. Yeah. It's a different psychology behind that.
It's not so much that I would want to make those as an external person. It's more that I'm used to making them in my my sales approach. I'm sort of like, by the way, these things will definitely happen. By the way, whatever you say the deadline will be, there's a very good chance it will move because of unknowns. And what can you do about unknowns? They're unknown.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot of insights there. And so if people would like to talk to you about it, say Thomas is going to share your details later. We have something coming up from LinkedIn, isn't it?
That was just somebody saying hello from
hey,
from
I think he's I think he maybe is a part of the Joomla community where I shared this talk would be taking place, so maybe he's come from there.
So I think we'll move on to the software development side of things.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions there for you. If you don't mind, we'll move to software development. And obvious question would be here, does software development actually taking jobs from people, or is there loss of jobs?
Yeah, so it's a good question, which comes up a lot from my clients. So they ask me to build a bit of software that will make their business more efficient. Quite often it might be that they're using 5 different bits of software and they want to put them all as one, or one of them doesn't quite do it the way they want it to, so they're kind of doing a workaround and it doesn't really work for them, and they're fed up with it and they just want it to work properly. And then as part of that, it becomes, well, actually, if we do all this, are we going to have to fire somebody? Because a lot of business owners are actually pretty, in touch with their staff and close relationship with them, and don't really want to lose people their jobs. They know about their families and everything. So a lot of the time it is a question when in my sales process, like, well, will we have to fire people if this works? And the answer is not normally yes. Although we'll be able to make them more efficient, normally what happens is, no, you can keep the same amount of staff, but you can service twice as many customers. Because it's not usually the case that the staff are completely unneeded. It's just that now we can do twice as much work. Or if that really is the case, usually it would be a case of, oh, we don't need this staff member anymore. And me saying, I can think of 100 jobs for them to do. There's loads of marketing they could be doing. There's loads of other stuff they could be doing. There's many things that a business is missing,
Yeah, it's about developing the strategy around that, I guess, and see to utilize both sides of it, technology and keeping the jobs placed, because it's very hard to replace those people that you already have trained and they know the company.
And they know their business. Yeah, exactly. But no, on the whole, I've never seen that a customer has got rid of a staff member because of the efficiency we've saved them. It's just been that they can do more work.
I forgot to say something when I introduced Eoin, right? And this is an Irish spin, right? I mean, Eoin, while he's over in the UK and originally from Ireland. But he gets jobs like this here. What happens when a TV company, right, wants to go world? What's the question here? On a worldwide audience, want to improve their email marketing capabilities. Owen was the person that developed the app. Is that correct terminology?
No, not the app. The email campaign for them.
All right.
So
For
yeah,
the
trust you to pick up on the Irish job we did. But
yeah, that's CT.
GAECO are they do it's for anyone in England or in other countries. It's like Sky Go for the sports in the UK, but it just shows the Irish sports, and they don't show it in Ireland because they're already shown there on Sky, I think, in some cases. But it's shown around the rest of the globe for all of the Irish people who've left
Brilliant.
Ireland, of which there are numerous, myself included, and my family. And they came to us asking us to help them with design and creation of their HTML email templates, which I was over the moon about because I could tell my mum and she could go and phone Ireland and say, guess who he's working for?
That is so cool. Well done. Well done. Okay,
Yeah.
that brings me to another question, right? This is all great and all the developments, but back to software development. Yeah, we have the answer for jobs, right? But does software is software development actually cost neutral?
So actually in the UK, there's a thing called R&D tax, which you can claim on any research and development, and quite a lot of the time the software development might fall into that. So there's certainly a percentage of that which you would be claiming back and getting a tax rebate on. So in part that is cost neutral. Many of the times when people are using multiple bits of software, they're paying license fees, and a lot of the time they're paying license fees per user. So once you get to sort of like 10 or 20 users, the license fees become quite expensive. And if we build some software, we aren't going to charge you per user because that's not our business model. So you can kind of scrap all of these licenses that you have and put that towards the running costs of the software, which often the payback might be within a year or sometimes 2 years. But from that point onwards, you're in profit from all those licenses you had. So yeah, a lot of the time it is cost neutral, and then you get this tax benefit as well. Plus you get the efficiencies of, your business possibly be able to do twice as many customers with the same amount of staff. So you don't have to hire more people. Normally the next step for them would be to hire another person. And then they ask us to build software, which avoids them having to do that. So yeah, I'd say it's cost neutral.
Yeah, I wasn't even aware of that. This is so cool. So
Yeah.
I learned something new today. Yeah.
And
My last question on this, Thomas, can I just ask this one?
go
And
ahead.
probably one from the software development, because that's another one that I'm quite interested. And it's a lot of companies would be, because when we talk about software development, yeah, we think of cost, we think how much you need to prepare for that and what is actually involved in the process. So my question would be, do you build, or do you always build something from scratch? Or do you actually build on something that's already there? So give us your answer for companies who don't have anything, or the companies that have something. So what is the process?
It entirely depends. At the moment, we're just hopefully we're about to win a contract with a customer who has an already existing bit of software, and his developer has just had to move countries. He's got a German wife, so he's moved to Germany, has a baby, and he just can't dedicate the time. And the rules of him living in Germany means he has to work full time at a company to have his visa, basically. So that we will take over. Other times we would build it completely from scratch. But even when we build from scratch, we would normally, there would be something that someone else has built that we're using. And so it might be that there's, we might integrate Google Maps, for example. So there might be an address search. Someone types in their address and it auto-populates from Google Maps. So we didn't build Google Maps, obviously, but we can integrate it, and that then becomes something that saves time. Or we might integrate, quite a lot of the time we integrate like an AI search, so that the search is like super quick, because like slow websites annoy people, and when they're trying to get data, they want it quickly. And if it's a big system with a lot of data, having an AI search in there would be helpful. So we might integrate a third-party system. So we do build from scratch, but we always add in other things normally, I would say, 9 times out of 10.
I think you've got a big fan out here, Owen, because here's a comment. I don't. It's a bit small there. I'll try and read it. If you use open source software and pay someone like Owen to customize a module or equivalent that you need, that you can also even greater savings. Or
Great
something like that. It
things.
says.
Yeah, yeah. So Emmanuel's a great guy. I met him at the Joomla Day conference in Nashville, and got to know him a bit there. He's really doing quite well in the Joomla community, and he runs a Discord server there as well. So he's doing a great stuff. But he's right. If you take advantage of open source software like Joomla and many others, you can build on something, and often you can just tweak it or customize it in the way you want.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a great
Yeah.
point. So it's
There's
a good time saver and a good money saver for a custom.
there's
Yeah.
a project you told me about when I met you for the first time, and we had a one-to-one. It was I think you called it driven by drivers.co.uk.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know if that was it a software development or is that a project of a different type you've done for people.
No, it was software development. So basically, had we built it's basically a system that coach drivers and coach companies can sign up for, and then customers who want coach trips can go on there and say, I want a trip from here to here, how much it's going to cost? And then it will send a message to all the drivers and say, there's a new quote there, go and quote on it. And then the idea is that customer gets 10 quotes or whatever they need, and they can choose the cheapest one or the one which offers the best value or the best type of coach that they need or something like that. So that actually had it kind of had two parts. It had a front end website and it had a back end with all the sort of quote systems. So that was software development, and the front bit was just pretty much a standard website, but we had to connect the two together.
All right. Okay. So as we're learning about Owen, we can see he's got a lot of
Yeah.
projects under his belt and skills. And I'm assuming, Owen, you don't do all this by yourself.
I try not to do any of it. It would take forever if it was just me. No, I'm like, as the business owner, I have to be responsible for a lot of things like the sales, the admin, making sure people are paid and all that sort of thing. So I have a few teams of developers working for me, fortunately, and they do, that job probably took 3 or 4 months, probably took 3 or 4 decades if it was me doing it on my own, in between meetings.
I know based on our research that like I said at the beginning, you have taken up a lot of time. You're doing so many things, but you're also interested in, or have at the past, got a rally driving scholarship, and you got into the semi-final. You got into the final of the Essex Cup football, and you've got an A level equivalent in skiing and snowboarding, and you're halfway through a scuba diving course. And the one I really want to ask you about, you can comment on all those in a moment, but you're writing a book, which is on LinkedIn advertising, right? So you
Yeah, we
going
do.
on.
We do quite a lot of. Yeah, I mean, it's nice to drop all of those things in and say all the things I've done in my past, and I'm glad that I got to do so much physical stuff when I was younger. Yeah, the book on LinkedIn, we do a lot of LinkedIn advertising, and it works quite well. And I would say that a lot of it is about salesmanship more than the technology. But it's just about teaching people who may already be quite good at sales and stuff, how to not act like a robot because they're online. Basically, it's the same as
Yeah.
anything. You don't just walk into a room and say, "Nice to meet you, buy my stuff." So you shouldn't be doing that on LinkedIn either.
That's true, yeah.
A
So
lot of it is about building relationships as well, which is people don't understand how to do that on LinkedIn necessarily, as they would in real life. So it's just a bit of training on that.
when is the book due out?
It's the famous question that you could ask any author. About 3 months ago.
Have you got a name?
Very good. We'll watch out for that one. Somebody
Yeah,
who is
watch
in
out.
collaborative. Yeah, sorry, somebody who is in collaborative book writing project, and yeah, it's a lot of ups and downs while you're putting, but writing on your own, don't know.
Yeah,
My
I'd
hat
say
off.
I got about 70% of the way through it, and then life kind of took over a little bit. And the book title was called "Make Strangers Fall in Love with You."
Ah,
Yeah, and my idea was the in part was LinkedIn, but there is a copyright issue, so we definitely aren't going to be doing that.
so you can't call it that. That's not
We
going to
can
be the
call it
title.
that. We just can't make the in can't be a LinkedIn logo,
All
and
right.
we have to get sign off from LinkedIn anyway to write a book about LinkedIn.
Oh, do
So
you?
Oh,
there's
Right.
yeah, there's a little bit of a process to go through. Talking to those guys.
I
Okay.
think we might have to back again, Thomas, to talk only about that because it's fascinating. And a lot of people, they're writing their own books. And I guess some of the things you just never even think of research and make sure that you covered on that. It's back to where we started today's show, right? It's all about that agreement and to be clear what can go right
Yeah,
straight
and
and
just
what can go wrong.
checking these things, finding about, and I guess touching on your when you were doing about the images that you were creating, and it's like from a branding perspective, are they copyrighted? Who has the license to it? Do you have it because you created it? Is it based on another artist's work? Therefore, do you owe them any royalties or something? Because sometimes AI does that. And the other thing is, from a branding perspective, it needs to be like an ownable asset. So if you don't own it, it maybe isn't worth having. Maybe you'd be better off owning it. So in some cases, you might be better off taking your own or something like that.
Okay.
So your message there is if you're using AI, you don't own it, even with
Well,
this.
you might do. My message
Yeah.
is check.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Because this Flux Laura realistic. My belief is that the people do not currently exist. Every single item in the clothes and everything that put on the person are coming from the prompt. Now, how it does that, I don't know. It has to be based on the shape of
It,
somebody
yeah,
or something.
trained somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, but what I've been found through my research is these people never existed in this world, right?
Hmm.
Whereas go back about 3 4 months ago, they were basing it on images that people had put up on the internet already.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you just need to check and make sure what the license says of that particular website or software.
Yes, exactly.
But
So,
Uh,
ultimately, if when it comes to branding, you want to be able to own the assets because that's what adds the value to the company. If you don't own them, then it's not that much value. But I'd probably say it's more applicable to maybe your logos and characters and stuff like that you use. So if you're using it to generate like a new mascot or something, then you would definitely want to make sure you own it.
all right.
Uh, we
Anna, you.
nearly we're a bit over, but I have to ask this question, right? You earlier you mentioned Nashville, and I know that you're so busy, but you're not that busy because you can do so many other things. That includes speaking internationally on different events. One of them with Nashville. If you just maybe touch base, because I have another question for you.
Sure. So that was Joomla community again, and that was Joomla Day USA in Nashville this year, which was great. It was nice to go out there and be able to talk. I honestly learned so much from all of the other speakers there. It's actually on the Joomla Day USA website, so if you want to see any of those talks, they're all available. But also, I just made so many friends there. I made so many really good connections, so it was a great networking possibility for me as well. But it was just a privilege to be a part of such a good community that the Joomla community has. Everyone's so friendly, and given that the software is completely free for users, it's really become such a high quality content management system. So big shout out to all of the guys there who work on it and make that free for people like
But
me.
yeah, but Owen, if you don't mind, please share your link in the comments of the show. We'll be delighted to support something that, especially
Sure,
if
I
it's free
will.
for
I will.
many. Yeah, please do. And my last question to complete kind of such a diverse personality and diverse the things that you do, I would like to ask about stand-up comedy.
Yeah,
Would you like
well,
to
yes.
share some? Well, we have done our
Well,
research, so please
yes,
do
you
tell.
have. You've done your research. Yes. I will be doing stand-up comedy in November. I haven't ever done it before. If I'm honest with you, I'm kind of hoping nobody turns up because I'm petrified. But I will be doing it for charity. So I will be preparing. They will be giving me some training, so hopefully they can teach me how to be funny. I've also got a book which is attempting to teach me how to be funny, so I'll be writing up my script and developing it as we go along, and hopefully some people laugh, but if not, hopefully I raise some money for charity.
I think we're definitely going to be watching and supporting you
Yeah.
on that one on. So please do tell when that will happen. Okay. And thank you
Owen,
so very much.
I've got a few things I want to ask you on, right? I've got three total questions, right? One, the first one is, seeing as this is a practical show,
Yeah.
and we like to give people some real practical tips. So today, and our focus is really on business growth while we cover a lot of different areas with the AI tools, sales funnels, etc. Right? And today we touched on a lot with yourself. So the question is, if you were to give one practical tip to people today that they could take action after listening to this to help them grow their business, whether it's in business development or whether it's sales and marketing or any of the areas that you specialize in, what would that practical tip be?
I guess I wouldn't have one. I'll give you four, but I'll make them quick. I guess if you haven't got a business coach and you're running your own business, get one, because everybody needs an outside perspective. And I used to have a business partner, I don't anymore, so my business coach really helps with that. I guess from a project management perspective, have like a daily list of tasks and have a weekly list of tasks that you want to complete, but also have an extra bit of paper for all of the things you promise people when you're on the phone, because if you don't write it down, they'll change the subject, and then you get to the end of the call and go, God, what did I say? So I always have just a blank bit for the one-off tasks that I got to complete, which often only take 5 minutes, but you've got to have them written down. And I guess the fourth tip would be, if you're growing your company and being software development, or you're taking on lots of complicated projects, whether they're software development or web design or marketing or anything else, get a project manager as early as you can, because that will save you a lot of headache and cost and a lot of scope creep and all of these other things.
Wow. Okay, they're brilliant comments, right? And tips. So, Owen, if people want to contact you, what would you prefer? I mean, I do have your I think that's your LinkedIn address there, right? People can contact you that way. Is there any other method that you'd like people to contact you via?
I'm very social, so you're more than welcome to shoot me a message on LinkedIn or any other social media platform. You're welcome to come through the website, squareballoon.co.uk, and obviously you can fill in a contact form or give the phone number a call. That'll be fine, or I'll share my link tree in the comments at some point.
All right. Well, and the last thing I want to say to you is there? You mentioned your mother earlier, right? Picking up the phone and telling the whole of the country about the GA. But is there anything else you'd like to add or say today about the show, or any value you want to add? Anything at all you want to add?
Well, definitely. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for obviously the research you've done is great. So thanks for putting the effort in. Thanks for pronouncing my name correctly. I'm not used to that. You can definitely blame Mum for that one. But yeah, I'm really proud of my Irish heritage, and I'm really glad that I get to go back there so often. So yeah, I'd love to work with more Irish companies, because I really enjoy getting to go out there.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So, is there anything, Anna, that you want to add or anything like that?
I just want to thank, and I definitely will be catching up with you, and I really would like to know more. And it's been absolute pleasure to have you on our show. So thank you very much, and thank you to
thanks to Emmanuel and Peter who came on as well.
Exactly.
Thank you to all the comments and people that joined us. So really grateful.
I don't think we're forgetting anything, and we've covered everything, haven't we? And we just say,
And we're looking forward to next week's the same time, the same day, so 4 p.m. Irish time, Irish UK time.
Who have we got next week, Anna? Do you know off the top of your head?
I think we're going to keep it a secret. Of course, we do know who is next. We have Paul Rees.
Oh yes, Paul. Paul is going to be very interesting. A Welshman. A Welshman.
Very interesting. A very interesting show. So please join us again.
All right. So I think we're we're going to go, and on that, we're going to say